Who are you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Tina. Who are you?
That's always a
The
good
guy
start.
behind the camera. So I'm Tina Chrisman. Actually, I'm Dr. Tina Chrisman.
Dr. Tina. Very
I've
good.
actually finished a PhD last year, so good opportunity to check the title into it. Yeah, I started triathlon about 3.5-4 years ago. I'm now a pro triathlete, so I've got my German pro card, and this will be my first pro season. And you asked what led me to this point.
Indeed.
Loads of things. Well, I've been a very sporty person throughout my whole life. So I used to row in Germany, where I grew up, in the German national team. So throughout my junior years, under 23s, sort of relocated my studies towards the sort of the Olympic training centre in my early 20s. Did loads of rowing internationally as well. So I went to 4 world championships. Medalled at 2 as well. So quite a promising rowing career to that point. Wanted to sort of work towards the Olympics, but sort of fell out of love with the sport a bit. I just done it for so long, and so many little issues, and had little injuries and niggles and periods of overtraining and things that like just wanted me to sort of change perspective and try something new. And then I applied to Oxford. So I did a bit of rowing in Oxford for the boat race, so the Oxford-Cambridge boat race, which was good fun. But then essentially sort of decided to retire from my rowing years. And yeah, eventually found triathlon, actually through lockdown. And one of those, those lockdown triathletes. I started with road cycling, right? I brought my road bike from Germany. It's like this road bike I bought in like 2012 or something. I had it for so many years. It's like old Eastway bike. Brought it with me to Oxford, and then actually used it a lot throughout lockdown, and was like, some competitive spirit left in me. So decided to give triathlon a shot, which is probably not too far-fetched given that I used to swim as a child. My first triathlon was fun. It was with the Oxford team. So obviously if you're at Oxford or at Cambridge, there's these varsity matches. So you sort of race each other, Oxford against Cambridge, light blue against dark blue. And our first match, or our first triathlon, was the varsity triathlon. So it was in Eton Dorney on the Olympic rowing course.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. But it was like a sprint triathlon, and sort of closed circuit, which means no cars, no big chance of sort of crashes or anything. Quite a good novice triathlon. I think it was in 2020, I think, that I did it.
Okay.
And yeah, actually won it. I did really well. Everyone was like, oh, you might have a good chance at like coming top 3. And sort of, I actually took it quite seriously. I mean, the swim was horrific because it was like 11 degrees and quite a confident open water swimmer, I know that, but it was just so cold. And I was doing it with a surf wetsuit. A good Roxy surf wetsuit, which is actually quite flexible and good. Smashed on the bike. I think I actually averaged like 37 kph for that sprint triathlon on this old road bike. Actually, had I had a power meter, like the power numbers would be staggering. And then I think I did like 19 minutes on the runs. It was a solid first triathlon actually. I think the university pathway is really good for that, because you're in this like nice structured training environment. There's sort of races mapped out for you throughout the year. It's obviously varsity, but then we had a lot of sort of focus on British university championships. It's like all the best unis in the country come together and like the best athletes compete, and it's like really competitive. You have like all the top athletes from Loughborough, and sometimes like national team athletes also in the mix. And so those were like my focus races in the first years. I knew like that's the best competition I can get in the country at this stage. So did a few of those, actually podiumed at almost all of them. Always only came second. Never managed to actually win the Bucks race, but got a lot of sort of second places. And like actually that was really a good benchmark for me because I got really competitive about it. I knew sort of those people I'm competing against, they're doing really well. Sort of it was something to really aim for. So we did like every year like a duathlon with Bucks, a sprint triathlon, and an Olympic distance, and I actually did usually best on the Olympic ones. So signs were sort of already showing towards like a long distance career. I think I was always preferring the longer ones. Did a bit of age group stuff as well. Like I want to sort of see what age group racing is like. So did a bit of that in the UK, which is good fun. Like I won a couple of qualifier races, and then 2 years ago or so we did like European age group champs in Munich. So sprint distance, and yeah, won a medal there. It's fine, but like I never sort of had that edge on that short distance stuff. Like I didn't really like it that much. Like I did it, and I knew sort of good cultivation of triathlon skills, but I sort of always like edge to go a bit longer, I think. Yeah, so the stars sort of started to turn when I met my coach Jon. So I got put in touch with him through a mutual friend. Jon lives up in Derbyshire, and like went up to his coaching base for a couple of days, 2.5 years ago or so. And we did an FTP test, and he was like, "You're an absolute diesel engine." Like I sort of knew, like I'd done rowing for so many years, I'd always been better like longer distance things, and like never been like that sort of like sprint person with an edge. Okay. And I think the FTP test just showed like the numbers were very good and like competitive, and like I wasn't really building lactate until like 250 watts. Like it was like it showed that like I had that engine at aerobic capacity. And I think also in training, there were certain types of sessions that I really liked, and they were usually the sort of the tempo runs, longer sessions, long cycling time trials, and like, so yeah.
So you like being out and about for
yeah,
longer?
I like being out and about. I like being in that weird like sort of uncomfortable zone where you just like push, but like you're not like tipping over the edge, you know, like you're not like, I think in rowing, right, where like you row 2Ks, 7 or 8 minutes, and you just like pump yourself up with like lactic acid, and like it's so easy to go numb and like to like really almost you just barely be able to move because you're digging so deep. And like I carry a bit of that ability into triathlon now, which means I can push really hard, but it was never something my body responded well to. Like it needed a lot of time to recover from it. Or if I did a long distance race, like in rowing, sometimes you did these like 5 or 6K races, I did so much better. Like my pace was very similar actually to my shorter distance pace, and like yeah, so there's loads of signs I think that showed long distance might be the thing. And then I only did my first 70.3 last year actually in, when was it? It was the week after my PhD viva.
May, was it?
May or something,
Was
yeah.
it?
Like a local 70.3 in the Cotswolds. And plan was just go and try and win it. Had no experience whatsoever in doing 70.3s. And obviously I knew what it was like. I knew that fueling was important. Like at that point I'd been doing triathlon for 2 years, and I had a coach, and I was sort of fairly clued up. Actually, I finished that race, won it by like 15 minutes or something, but actually thought I was never going to do this middle distance triathlon again. I had like dug so deep because what happened, I had a really good swim, like actually dominated swim, swam behind the lead kayak, just like obliterated all the men around me, just like swam my race, got out of the water, got on the bike, lost almost all my fuel in like, I think it was 3 rounds or 2. Like after like 20K, I lost almost all my fuel over some potholes on this really fast section. So I then tried to get by in this like, I think it took me 2 hours 20 or something, that bike race. Tried to get by on like one bar and one gel. So it was super empty. Ended the cycle feeling okay, but knowing, I was going to be quite empty. The run was going to be a struggle. Then ran the run, tried to eat as much as I could at every aid station, but like things were just lost. Like my body was just so drained at that point, and like I was trying to, started at a good pace actually, sort of running 4:10 pace or something. And then just like didn't have the energy. Like I actually absolutely bonked in that race. So like dragged myself to the finish. Still managed to sort of tick over, which probably shows that I still have an engine even if things are low. And yeah, and I just crossed the finish line. I was so knackered. Like for a week or so I was knackered after that race. So I had to like have a bit of emotional time off. But then was like, okay, well actually these are all addressable things. Like make sure you have like enough fuel and attach it properly to your bike and carry extra and like make a plan for nutrition. And so I wanted to have another crack, right? So then I did 2 more middle distance triathlons last year. Both went really well. One was Challenge London, which was also quite cool because it was a pro race. I could directly compare my time against some of the pros. Had a good race actually. I mean, swam in this super crowded age group pack, which is like swimming your way through the whole field. Had a decent bike, fueled better and everything. Got onto the run. Run was like 6 laps of going up and down this like these harbour walls. Probably didn't hydrate well on the run. Actually suffered really bad heat stroke, and with like 400 meters to go, actually passed out. So it was a bit of a shit experience. But on the run, I was running significantly faster than many of the pros. So for me, that was a bit of a point that like, actually, this is probably might be the race I need to be in. And the times were comparable to some of the people who made the podium. So that was, obviously I had a shit time because I then had a heat stroke and needed a while to recover from that. And I was like blacked out, and it was a really horrible experience. But then I sort of like built back from it, and then like full focus on Ironman Weymouth. So Ironman 17.3 Weymouth, which was in September last year, and that race I just wanted things to go to plan. So I had this very dialed down nutrition strategy. I'd seen like the team from Precision Fuel and Hydration to make a sweat test, and like to just like exclude anything that it could be like damaging to my body, right? Like it was a shock to like actually pass out and like be knocked out for like half an hour. But yeah, it was all addressable things, right? So got hydration in place, the nutrition, sort of cooling strategies and all those other things. And in Weymouth, won my first major long distance event, right? But a middle distance. So that was really, really damn epic, actually. Had a really, really good bike. Actually, I think it was probably a course record. And then obviously used that race and like sort of those experiences to then apply for my German pro card. Here I am. Yeah, I guess I'm not going down the standard pro route of fully focusing on it or like ditching everything else for it. I actually started a new job in January, which is a bit unusual, but so obviously I finished my PhD last year in summer, then was doing a bit of consultancy work, a bit of lecturing in Oxford, and then this amazing opportunity came up for this job in Southampton as a lecturer and scientist in environmental science. So I know that sort of academia and the world of science brings a lot of privileges with it in terms of flexible working remotely, doing things in your own time. So the sort of things you need if you want to probably recover from your sessions and plan your life around training as well. So got that job, I'm really happy with it, but it's a full-time job, but it's very flexible. I make it fit around my life. It's incredibly enjoyable. So it doesn't feel like work most days. Like I teach students, I supervise master students, I do some research with collaborators, got amazing colleagues. So it really actually is just a bit of a dream job, actually. I mean, it's pretty good with Southampton Tri Club anyway. So that's great because we've got our swim squad, we've got our training group, loads of young people in there, loads of fast people as well. Like, it's definitely not the usual Tri Club. I think there's a lot of good quality in that Tri Club in terms of very committed people. It's really, it's fantastic. Big generation mix, which is good fun. Some old people, some young people, teenagers, loads of people in their mid-30s, 40s, and like, it's just a really nice group. And so we've got that group to train with. We train with them 5 times a week or so, swim with them 4 times, run with them once, then do loads of social activities. But being in the uni also means I can do some really focused swimming and gym sessions and those sort of things there. So we've got a swim, like training facility. It's not a 50-meter pool, unfortunately, but it's good enough. It's like a 25-meter pool. It's clean. It's if you go at the right times, you've got the lane to yourself. So I do some of my big swim sessions there. And yeah, it also means I'm doing a bit more cycle commuting, which is a bit of zone 1 training, which is nice. A bit of sort of an hour every other day or so cycling in and out. And then I've got like days where I work from home. So I do a lot of training on those days, do my focus sessions, and days where I'm in uni for loads of hours and loads of commitments, and those days I train a bit less, and my coach knows about this, so we've got this very good communication going on where I tell him which days I'm quite sort of busy and stretched, and so he knows to plan the easier days there. But we're sort of mindful around the whole sort of combined effort of like being a working pro triathlete, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities, it's almost hard to pick some. But I think we've restricted ourselves in terms of the choice of options because my partner and I, we said we don't want to fly and travel excessively for triathlon, so we're gonna try and stay local as much as we can. There's obviously loads of cool races in the UK and also especially in Europe, especially my home country in Germany. So we're going to try and stick to the European continent. Can't say the European Union anymore. To the European continent. And yeah, focus on some races here. So trying to really suss out all the local middle distance races we got in the UK. and also try and do some in Germany. I think the focus this season will be on middle distance, on 70.3. Yeah, so the idea will be we'll race Ironman Kraichgau, which is in Germany. So half Ironman end of May. This is for the first sort of leg opener for the season. Then we come back to the UK, do a couple of domestic races, so probably Challenge Wales and Ironman 70.3 Swansea. Just try and have a bit of local exposure and try and race against some of the UK domestic pros, while also not making our travelling life too difficult. Obviously, my partner's got a job, so do I, so we can't just go away for weeks and weeks and days, so we want to make sure it's feasible with our little green van. And then the sort of the main focus race is a race that I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is the triathlon in Alpe d'Huez. So obviously got this like epic mountain climb on it, and yeah, I just really want to test my cycling legs. So we're going to do that in July. And then that's sort of the first four races for the first half of the season. The second half is a bit uncertain. We just like figured out along the way whether we try some long distance or some other bits. We want to sort of see how those first four races go, and then making sure we actually we enjoy it as well. Like we want to do races that we like, not just racing for the sake of racing and chasing the prize money. So yeah, picking stuff we're excited about.